Well, Denise Richards is revealing her ex-husband Charlie Sheen's reaction to her family's new reality show. He said, "Winning, winning, winning, Tiger Blood."
Winning?
No, not the soundboard.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, it's true. Charlie Sheen is head over heels, eyes rolling back in his head. He is so excited. He considers it a huge win for his ex-wife and her family that they're getting that show called Denise Richards and Her Wild Things.
It's kind of weird to me that they called it that. Like, her wild things are her children, but like
Yeah.
the movie was about like her being, what is that? Is that like a psycho thriller? Like, is there murder in it?
I was getting confused with the other one, which was the Dangerous Liaisons, Cruel Intentions. You know, I don't think I ever watched Wild Things, but I only think Wild Things is that one where it's in the pool and she's, I think, I don't want to say if this is wrong, but she's kissing someone and Matt Dillon is like jerking off in the corner or something. I've never seen it before, but what I thought it's weird is that you reference a movie in your title. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say, though, as time goes on, I'm more and more on team The Hills Have Eyes and They're All on Me for Kyle.
Oh, you mean that like as being one of the best taglines?
It's so stupid. And I love picturing the like mutant eyeballs in the hills being like, "Where's Kyle?"
Me too. I've been thinking about that also. The Hills Have Eyes, which is like this scary movie where a bunch of people for radioactive mutants are like pull you in and they kind of murder you and do a bunch of horrible stuff. The Hills Have Eyes and they're all on me. Yeah, her wanting to reference Hills Have Eyes is really interesting. But you said you were like it's a testament to her horror movie bona fides.
Yeah. Scream queen extraordinaire.
Totally. But yeah, anyway, so that was it for the Denise Richards stuff. I just think you think you're going to watch that show?
Maybe I'll watch like the first one when I'm like hungover or something.
Yeah.
I was going to warn people that if I appear low energy today, although I already feel I'm in the action, I had, I think, norovirus for the past 24 hours. And I was like out on my ass, like barfing, like sleeping for 24 hours. And I've learned because I always say, maybe I'll watch that if I'm sick. You know, like I'm always like, oh, I'll watch Southern Hospitality when I'm sick. But I can only watch the most like tame shit imaginable. So I watched Finding Your Roots. Criterion Closet videos, Architectural Digest videos. I watched the horrible Sofia Coppola movie On the Rocks.
Oh my God.
Because I logged into Apple to try and watch Severance and I was like, this is too upsetting. Like,
wow.
It was season 1, so there was like, it was when that guy had like a bloody nose and he was like getting like seared like brain headaches and I was like, no, this is horrible.
So anything that made you even want to be close to barfing or show sickness, you wanted to steer clear of while you had that?
No, like I couldn't even watch Bravo for like a while. Like I watched it at like the end of day 2, but like I needed shit that was so like neutered and like PBSified, like just soothing.
That's a good little roadmap you gave everyone for calming, stuff, content to watch. Criterion Closet, it doesn't get much more tame than that. It's like they're like Akira Kurosawa.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Ken Burns' Criterion Closet. That's a good one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I didn't know he'd ever been in there. What did he
I think it's fairly new.
do you know anything
I
that
think he did do a Kurosawa.
Oh, of course he did. He's probably like Rashomon. He's like, when I'm interviewing people for documentaries, sometimes they'll tell 2 different stories, just like Rashomon. Oh, I kind of want to, I'll do this on my own time. I don't want to bore anybody with looking at. That's exciting.
And then we already talked about Father of the Bride recently, but for Christmas, my dad got me a TV with a VHS player in it. And so I have a small collection of VHSs that I like took from my parents' house. And one of them was Father of the Bride. And last night when I was going to bed, I was like, this is what I'm going to put in. And I was like, perfection.
Wow, it didn't even teeter even close to being disgusting or make you want to barf.
Although it's kookier than I remembered. Like he goes nuts. I forgot that he like falls in the pool and like the hot dog buns. I know the hot dog buns is like iconic, but I forgot he literally goes to jail.
What was he doing wrong with the hot dog buns again?
He was like, you get more buns than sausages, so I'm not paying for the extra buns.
He goes, it's a classic Nancy Meyers rant. He goes, there's 8 buns and you get 12 hot dogs. He goes, get over here. He tells the grocery clerks to get over there and he gets arrested, right? Because he's screaming. Yeah. Why does he fall in the pool again?
He's like, it's a classic, like, snooping in someone else's bathroom situation where he, like, opens the medicine cabinet and then it, like, falls off. And then he snoops around the future in-laws, like, desk and goes through his checkbook. And then their Dobermans, like, attack him and he falls out the window. And then the checkbook goes in the pool. So then he tries to scoop it out. And then the dogs chase after him and he falls in the pool.
Oh, my God. Does he get hurt at all?
No, but I was like, come on, man.
I know. And then we've already talked about, everybody knows this, but Martin Short's character, you're like, there's this eccentric kind of party event planner. You're like, there's no real life analogy to this person. And you're wrong. It's Kevin Lee. He's the inspiration for Martin Short's famous character, where he's kind of an eccentric, I'll just say it, eccentric event planner.
I have to say, his humor in that is irresistible.
Is it?
He tells him his suit is navy blue. He's like, this tuxedo is navy blue. I was like, that's so fucking stupid. I love it.
Yeah, that is so funny. You know that you cannot find what Ken Burns chose in the closet? It is like completely under wraps. No, wait. Actually, I just found it. You were right. He didn't do Rashomon. He did Seven Samurai. I can't even imagine what the hell he said about that. And then he's a Lubitsch guy.
There you go.
Rebecca by Alfred Hitchcock. I loved that film. I saw that at Vidiots. Oh my God. Everybody's got to see this thing. He was picking some classics out of there. Way to go, Ken Burns.
Very deep about it. Like he said that, I forget which of the movies it was, but one of them was like the first movie he saw his father cry at after the death of his mother. And he was like, art is the only way to like express our emotions or something like that. I was like, I love you, Ken.
That is so sweet. I wonder which one it was. Was it Fellini? Well, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm going to watch that on my own time. But that's amazing. Wow. Well, good. Well, you just told people when they're sick what they could possibly do if they don't want to get, even sicker and watch chaotic content. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Will you guys comment with more? I'm still feel like I'm going to sleep for 3 more days. So comment with your favorites. You don't have to do the Nancy Meyers ones because those are extremely in my oeuvre already. But let me know what you watch.
Okay. Well, yes. And please, I want to know too, in case I ever get sick again.
I hope not, but it comes out of nowhere.
I've got another news intro for you.
Okay.
Well, Scheana might not be able to keep her poker face now that Lady Gaga said she will miss her the most when VPR switches over to a new cast. Did you see this?
That's another thing I watched. I watched Lady Gaga on Hot Ones and this Vanity Fair, what do you call that? Truth or Dare, whatever they call it.
Oh my God, I'd never seen that content before. I was worried when I saw a screen capture of Lady Gaga with no context hooked up to that lie detector. So is Lady Gaga promoting an album?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They asked her if she's excited for them to have a new reboot cast of Vanderpump Rules, and she said yes, and then she went no.
She said no first. Then she thought of Andy Cohen probably hovering over her, frowning, and Lisa Vanderpump saying, "Don't you dare." So she said yes. And then she knew she was going to get busted in a lie. And so she said no. And then the lie detector person said, "Inconclusive results. We're going to stand by the thing that you said twice. That's a no."
Yeah. And then they were like, "Who will you miss the most?" And she said Scheana, which is very funny to me.
It said it was one of the most truthful statements anybody's ever made on a lie detector. The thing didn't even register for 1 second. And I want to say, huge win for Scheana.
Huge.
After all this like Dancing with the Stars shit, have you checked on Scheana lately? What the fuck? Why is everything about Scheana? All this shit. Scheana was like, she's been getting Have You Checked on her for about a year now.
Yeah.
And then she gets one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Says my favorite cast member that I'm going to miss the most is Scheana. I mean, Scheana, you should be on cloud 9 right now. I would be reveling in that for years.
I was like, who's she going to say? For like a split second, I was like, who's it going to be? But yeah, I haven't checked. I assume Sheena's posted something about that by now.
Oh, she did. What if she goes Scheana? Well, yeah, I'm not going to be more controversial. She goes, Scheana, and he goes, lie. And she goes, Tom Sandoval. And it goes, oh my God, that was true. Lady, could you imagine?
What if she was like, I mean, his stint on The Traitors rocks ass.
Yeah, people are, you're caught up, right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm not caught up yet, but I know people are. Oh, Tom Sandoval, not to talk about him too much, but I saw that he met that guy who was going, Tommy. You remember that video you told me where that guy goes, Tommy, why do people not like this guy? I love him so much. He met up with that guy and started partying with him. Yeah.
Wait, was that the person that someone sent me a video where they were like, they did like a TikTok?
Yeah, I think so. I glanced very quickly over this, but I'm pretty sure it was that same guy that you sent me that goes, Tommy, I love this guy, Tommy. Don't tell me anything bad that he's ever done. And then I'm pretty sure that went viral enough that Tom Sandoval invited him to go do karaoke with him. I'm
Wow.
pretty sure.
That's exciting for that man.
Yeah.
Well, I also saw something that I think I was telling you before that I saw someone saying their friend had Tom Sandoval and the most extras play at their wedding. And I think the estimate that they put in, because people kept asking for the price and stuff, it was something like $50,000 or something.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it's a wedding anywhere, right? Because you can't let Tom dictate where you get married.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
I don't know if this was abroad.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, just to think about it. Jason, the guitar, the drummer.
Huge group.
Yeah, it's like 10 people, all their instruments. I admit, 50 is probably a low quote for. I mean, let us know people who've had live bands at your weddings, but I bet that's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, weddings are so crazy, man. As I learned during Father of the Bride.
That's the perfect example. He didn't want to have it at his house, right?
That's not one of the things that he was upset about, but he claims in the movie that he bought the house for less than the wedding cost.
Oh. Does he like the son-in-law? Is that what it's?
By the end, he's okay with it, but at the beginning, he's like, he's disgusting.
Wow. So is it kind of about how abrupt this wedding is taking place and him adjusting to it?
Yeah, he's pissed. He hates it. I also noticed he owns like a sneaker factory, a sneaker brand. And Isn't that what the dad does in Jumanji?
Exactly. I was just going to say, if you didn't say it, 90s dads were making shoes. I think Nike was really big, and everyone was thinking about Nike. And so, yeah, in Jumanji, he was the first person to make the big pump up. What were those? You remember when the tongue got pumped up? I think Jumanji was doing that. And then, yeah, I remember his in Father of the Bride. They make you bounce way higher, right? They're like little springs on your shoes.
I think we talked about this because I watched Jumanji on TV like a year ago or something. And it was so funny. Like, it's 1963 or something. And they make normal shoes, or they make like Chuck Taylor type shoes. And then the one black guy that works at the factory is like, look at this new design I made, and it's like a 1995 basketball sneaker, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of the same scene as in Back to the Future when Michael J. Fox discovers rock and roll for the first time. You remember? Where they're just like completely ahead of their time and it rocks everybody's world.
Yeah.
But then I think, if I remember correctly, in Jumanji, doesn't that little boy get a bunch of blue ink or gack all over it, and then it gets in the shredder, and then that guy gets fired?
He gets distracted because his dad's like, why are you lollygagging in the factory? And he puts it down behind him, and it gets chewed up by the machine and ruined the prototype.
Oh my God. And then that's why he has to become a cop in the current world.
Sucks.
Oh my God. Wow. Well, you just gave me a blast through the past. Jumanji, Father of the Bride. I love thinking about all that shit. One last thing on my little docket before I think you had some more kind of breaking news. Ben Stiller let loose a little, I'd say a scream, not a scream, but a sort of a huge statement into the world on Twitter. He said, and I quote, "It is good to see Dorit and Kyle finally bonding through common challenges." Hashtag RHOBH. And the world went wild. People said, "Oh my God, Ben Stiller just weighed in."
I love that it was like completely unwarranted and live tweet of like the worst episode I've ever seen. Like it was not must-see TV by any means.
Yeah, I also think I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be nice about this, but I think quite possibly it was AI. It's the most banal, like, boring, anodyne statement I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It's so glad. I think it was so glad to see Dorit and Kyle finally bonding through common challenges. Like, not even like, whoa, I loved this scene between Dorit and Kyle! Exclamation point, or
right.
whatever. I mean, and you're totally right. It was a absolutely horrendous episode, and not a very compelling scene. I think I don't know what he was thinking right then.
It did sound like when my phone doesn't do this, but I have friends that always send me screenshots when their iPhone AI recaps long texts. Where like it'll take like your crazy 400 message thing and be like, covered getting tickets in Vegas and cupcakes that were good or whatever. And like it's just like Kyle and Dorit bond over common experiences.
I think that's what it was. Common challenges. I mean, I'd just be like, I love to see them bonding over separation or something. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think he got a little bit of a bug up his ass, or what's a bee in his bonnet. No, a good thing. Once Andy, it became known that he was a Housewives head, and he was like, I watch Beverly Hills with my daughters or whatever. Yeah. That I think he was like, let's throw some red meat, some bait to Turtle Time and the Bravo fans by giving this kind of just like random thought out about Beverly Hills.
He's on Twitter a lot. He replies to random Severance commentary all the time. Like people will be like, it really fell off this season, and he'll be like, oh no.
Is that true? You haven't watched it because it was too disturbing.
I tried to start the second season and I was like, I don't remember anything that happened, so I started again the first season. I
think that's a very common. I feel like we're all in Severance where we separated ourselves from remembering what happened first season. But my wife and I did the same thing. I'm sorry, Megan and I. And I can't. We watched it all in like 2 days, and I can't remember 1 second of that thing, except that, except the premise of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then once I started, I've watched 2 now of the first season, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. Like, I enjoyed this the first time, and I'm enjoying it this time, but we'll see if, because the second season picks up exactly where it left off, and so I think if you have just watched the finale, you'll be excited about where it starts, but if you don't remember, you're like, what is happening?
I think he was about, the outside world, Adam Scott was about to go open the door and see his like fucked up inside Adam Scott body, when you're like
you're outie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're Indian, you're outie. I think he was just about to open the door on that thing, but I don't remember exactly. But great. I'm sorry that maybe for Severance heads, it's not packing the same wallet, but just be, appreciative of anything good on television, because that's not going to happen very much longer.
Sure. And then I wanted to bring up, because we got tagged in this a few times. It's not even new anymore, but it's really funny that Francois of Francois and Johan Van Kempen have been popping off. He said...
Both of them?
Well, this is Francois specifically, posted a story on Instagram saying, does anyone know of a Melbourne cafe with ugly baristas? Tired of waiting 20 minutes for a cappuccino because the 5 baristas are too busy trying to get in each other's pants to make my fucking coffee.
Oh my God. Imagine how pissed he must have been when he went to that Melbourne coffee shop and saw these attractive employees brewing coffee, hitting on each other, and then he went, where did he put that on? Instagram?
I think so, yeah.
Oh
it was like he went to Sir and was like, where are my fucking goat cheese balls? All these people want to do is like fuck each other.
Oh my God. Which one? He was older?
That's a great question. Something I should know.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't remember it either. I didn't mean to put that on you. Well, I am so sorry, Francois. I hope you found a different coffee shop. That's, there's nothing worse, I guess, when when you go into a place like that and people aren't taking care of you.
We stand with you. I also saw someone on TikTok went to Pinkies by Lisa Vanderpump in Vegas, which I very much would like to do. But it looks like it's just exactly the same as all of her places. They have a pumptini that's $23, and the goat cheese, the pumptini costs more than the goat cheese balls.
Whoa. Oh my God. Did you see how much the goat cheese balls were?
They were like slightly less.
Like 21.
Still 20 something, but yeah.
Oh my God. We might have to, that's in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Maybe let's split, if you don't mind. Split one pumptini and split two goat cheese balls apiece.
Yeah, seriously, we have to like really get our shit together before November so that we can afford to do anything at BravoCon.
I know. We absolutely have to. All right. Well, any more news before we jump in a big, gigantic, wonderful pool of Summer House, just like the cast of Summer House?
The last thing I'll say is that I noticed that Ariana and her boyfriend went to that Harry Potter play at the Pantages, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, I believe it's called. And she wore, it looked like she sort of dressed thematically and also brought a wand. So I just wanted to like enter that into evidence to when she roasted Raquel about being a huge Harry Potter fan. We also saw on Traders that Tom Sandoval revealed himself to be a huge Harry Potter fan. So I think they all really loved Harry Potter together.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be the one who makes fun of someone else for something that I also enjoy. I have to give Ariana, maybe she was just like, still wanted to make fun of Raquel, because she loved, maybe Raquel specifically loved the Dementors or whatever that Ariana was talking about. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of open and shut case that Ariana also enjoys Harry Potter, going to Cursed Child, bringing a wand.
Yeah, and that shit's like 4 hours or something.
I wonder what type of whose wand she was trying to replicate.
Yeah, I feel like those aren't cheap either.
I read 75% of that book.
Which one?
Cursed Child.
Oh, was that an extra one?
Yeah, it's canon. There's some of the wildest shit.
Was that after she got canceled?
It was right before. People tried to lump that in with
before.
She got that in down under the wire. What's that? Under the wire. It has some of the most, we don't have to talk about it, but
stupid.
For people, kind of stupid. Changes a lot of the canon of Harry Potter, adds some stuff that you didn't quite possibly need.
She's like, Harry is a boy, and that's it.
Oh, it was a little. There's some stuff like that where you're wondering, oh my God, you're teetering on the edge here, JK. But no, it's just kind of it's kind of shocking for people who ended their Harry Potter journey maybe 20 years ago. I was reading it and I was just going, oh my God, the shit that she was adding to the universe. But anyway, let's talk about Cursed Child another time. But I'm glad that Ariana went to that play. That sounds fun. And I'm glad that she unabashedly is admitting that she also enjoys Harry Potter now that the dust has settled and she made fun of, Raquel for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I sent my friend, I know a couple people that have gone to it, and one of them, they went to a restaurant nearby before, and they were like, are you guys going to the Harry Potter play? And she was like humiliated that like they could tell. And so I sent her the gif of like, do you like Harry Potter? Or like, because I know you like Harry Potter.
Oh my God. Well, were they dressed up in big Gryffindor scarves? And I'm trying to think of
their hats.
And they both, yeah.
They're wearing like sorting caps.
Can I tell you one Cursed Child spoiler?
Yes.
Okay, everybody skip forward. Nobody likes spoilers. 20 seconds. They show a universe where Harry Potter, unfortunately, okay, wait, this is huge. 45 seconds, and you don't care if it's spoiled?
No.
Okay, so they save, okay, spoilers, this is major spoilers. They save Cedric Diggory, who's the only person who died. He's like
Rob Pattinson?
The whole thing is about that. That's the one injustice in like the Harry Potter mythology that they want to correct. And unfortunately, Cedric gets so embarrassed by the way they save him. They basically, it's like they use a trick to like pull his pants up over his head, and he gets pants in front of the entire wizarding school to save him so he didn't die. And then he gets so embarrassed and ashamed that that's how he was pulled out of the match, that he becomes a Death Eater, and he actually leads to Harry Potter getting killed, and Voldemort takes over.
Is that about like cancel culture? I feel like that's like a weird, like he like joined like bad comedy because he got canceled.
I think this was, well, let's we'll find out in the timeline where it is, but please, okay, now everybody can continue listening.
I hope they make that movie, and then Robert Pattinson has to do that.
Yes, he might. I don't know if they're going to make it into a film, but anyway, I don't want to spoil too much more. Let's get out of Harry Potter's universe. Let's take a a broomstick, get out of Hogwarts, and fly over to the Hamptons, because I want to talk about the latest episode of Summer House, and I want to start out my first thought right as we enter this house is that I thought that Lindsay Hubbard really surprised me, and she had a pretty good episode this week overall. I was delighted by almost every choice and thing she did this episode. So I kind of, I've been hard on her for the past couple of years when she's made wrong decisions, but this was kind of a nice, fun Lindsay episode. She got a great spirit in this thing, so I wanted to shout out her.
Tame. The episode was called "The Stakes Are High" because they had steak for dinner.
Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. They talked about hibachi last week. I think an editor is getting a little hungry over when they're naming these things. But the stakes are high just because Carl cooked steaks for 15 minutes of the episode.
He must have
I guess
spent a pretty penny on that shit.
I know, probably like $150.
Yeah, I have no idea, but yeah.
The stakes are high. So first they had hibachi, which I assume has steak. Then Carl's making them steak. And then this episode begins before he can even get the seasoning on the steak. First, he has to enter the house because we're in the middle of what we witnessed last week on the premiere, and it's Carl entering the house, and he's finally ready to say hello to everyone. He does a great entrance. He's probably nervous as hell, like, can you imagine the most nervous you could ever be? But he makes pleasantries, he smiles, he touches people, he says, new faces, who are you? Bailey, Lexi. Amanda gives him a sweet, he gives his hand out to Amanda, and she gives him a little kiss on his hand. He goes, ooh, a hand kiss. So he does a good job, but unfortunately Lindsay is just spinning around in an inner tube by herself, and Carl knows this is not the right time to give Lindsay just a full greeting of her own.
Yeah. In her confessional, Lindsay says she doesn't blame him for not saying hi to her in that moment. She said, I don't care. She goes, I'm done with that relationship, so his feelings and emotions are not my problem. He can lean on someone else for softness and tenderness and tighter hugs, which I'm like, don't remind us that you were disgusted by your fiance asking for a hug, which is like one of my holdouts against, like, I'm just like, that was sad, I thought.
Oh, I thought so too. When Carl needed a hug because he didn't want to fight anymore, and he said, "Can I just have a hug?" She's kind of, but that's kind of that's, to use the phrase again, that's sort of red meat for the Lindsay heads who are like, "Fuck this soft guy. Fuck this guy who likes hugs. Don't give him what he wants. He just shouldn't require that for you." So that was sort of like a salute to the Lindsay heads, but she doesn't keep that same
whistle.
That was a dog whistle. Maybe a good dog whistle for her fans to rally around her, being like, "We don't like soft men." But she doesn't keep that same energy. That's in the confessional. She's a little more pissed in the confessional. In this episode, I feel like she's pretty reasonable. Do you agree? They gave her kind of the edit where they do like a kind of like they give her 5 seconds after she says it. I don't blame him for not saying hi to me. I don't care. Are we to believe even the strongest person in the world, who has moved on and having a child with someone else and is fully in love, are we to believe that Lindsay has no more feelings towards Carl at all anymore? Do you think? Do you believe that could be true?
I mean, I felt like she says something again later where she says, like, I emotionally, physically, and in every way have moved on from this relationship. So she says again that she doesn't care or whatever. And it felt a little bit like doth protest too much. Because I'm like, literally just like not enough time has passed. Like just like physical time. You know what I mean? Like it just really hasn't been long. I can believe that like she got the ick. She already had the ick for him before they even broke up, which is like part of why they broke up. Cause she like hated him and like didn't respect him at all. So I can imagine now after he broke up with her, she like extra hates him. So I could see how she just flipped a switch and was like, I'm so done with this motherfucker. Like, I hate him. Like, I don't want to see him. But in this episode, like you said, was pretty respectful. She doesn't give him too much, but she is like pretty chill.
Yeah. I think when you love someone, you never stop loving them.
Well, okay.
Carl says, I didn't say hi to Lindsay because I didn't want to make her uncomfortable. Him and Kyle have a hug. I don't know what the hell Kyle was doing. He was away somewhere. He gives Carl a huge hug. And what
Kyle says to Carl, he says it like almost like he doesn't say anything, but Carl picks up what he's putting down. Kyle's like, she's like, and Carl goes like pregnant. And they're like, yeah. Like, I think until any of them saw her, they didn't know that she was like extremely pregnant.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, Carl's just having to, think about that in real time here, but he doesn't address it with Lindsay yet. So what the hell happens next?
Did you like in the transition that they showed Kyle nude in his bathroom blow drying his pubes?
I don't know what the hell
It was a blink of an eye.
I don't know what the hell I was thinking. That's what I just saw in the notes. I was looking down at it and I go, I don't remember it all. He just really quickly did a quick blow dry in there.
It was that thing where they show like the security cams. And so it like shows a little bit of everybody. And it was like him with his shorts tan, totally in the buck in his bathroom.
Oh, I can't believe I missed that.
And then it cuts to the kitchen really quick. And this is where Jesse is like mad dogging. That's not what I meant to say. What is it when you're like eyeing someone sexually?
Big eye, horny
Aruga eyes,
horny filled eyes filled with sexual longing, and he goes, Lexi has one of the. What does he say? I don't even want to say it. Oh my God. And then him and Wes are kind of laughing in the room, and then I think don't they giggle and run away?
They run away
because she's coming back.
If I will just say this now because their relationship evolves a tiny bit in this episode. If her interest in him is like the only thing saving him from being like a real creep.
So are you saying, let's unpack this because this is a sensitive topic. If she did not like him back and expressed that she didn't like him back, that the way he's talking to her,
I would hope that he would stop, but she appears to enjoy his way of giving her attention. So I can't really give him too much grief about it, I guess. Because
we're using what we've already learned to inform our discussion now,
right.
And we know she is all in on Jesse as of now. She wants to kiss. They do have that deeper moment of where they talk about those issues, and so I think she's enjoying this, but you're exactly right. Lexi has to be more a part of this for it not to come off as like a really, really horny man who's saying a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah. I was listening to a different podcast where they were talking about like one person has watched Summer House and one has not. And they were talking about the new season and how they like brought in new girls. And they were like, it's kind of giving like brothel, like the way they just like drop in like Jurassic Park, like goat meat like into the house where they're like fresh blood.
I thought about that a little bit. I don't think we mentioned it last week, but I do think it's interesting that as a concept, because it's a house, that you are dropping in people that you specifically think some of the cast members are going to be attracted to and potentially have sex with. So they're cast for that reason in a way.
Right. But I'm like, at the same time, isn't that what all of these shows that people watch are, like Love Island or The Bachelor or like anything like that? This is just less, it's not a game show, so it's not as formal, but it's essentially the same thing.
That's exactly right. Yes,
so,
totally.
It's like, I don't really care to like dig into the ethics of this.
No,
Unless she was uncomfortable, but she's not.
Jesse has a good, I could be just I think that there's so much flirtatious energy between both of them, and we saw him when he was with Paige, and remember he was like, I forget what he said. It's iconic, but him and Paige, and then the minute he found out she had a boyfriend, he stopped it. He knew that Paige wasn't a willing participant.
He has that weird whatever it's called, his chest bone is caved in. and she said something about like, lucky you, and he goes, lucky you, and she's like, lucky me.
Right. That was it. And I think that he knew that Paige, you know, was not receptive to that. And so I think he curbs his horniness to whatever the you know.
I'll also say that those girls in that house are like the first ones to like call out a guy that they think is a dirtbag. And it would appear that they unabashedly adore Jesse and West. I always almost say Just and Wessie.
No, I think so too. I think
even
so
though
too.
Sierra goes off on West, she obviously it's for personal reasons, but everyone like loves those guys.
Yeah, totally. I agree totally. I haven't thought too much about it, but I totally get your point where it's like that. Yeah, I don't think we're used to seeing an unabashedly horny man like that.
It's true. At least not for a while. The show used to be more like that.
Yeah. Carl and Kyle would be like raising their eyebrows, going hubba hubba.
Yeah.
I want to have
Hubbard.
sex. Hubbard, I want to have sex so bad. This is horny. That's maybe what it is. It's jarring to see horny energy again, where people want to have sex because a lot of them have been in relationships for a long time.
Yeah, and like the romance we got last year was West and Sierra, and they never had sex, so we didn't even like get anywhere near that.
So we're kind of just responding to new horny energy.
Right.
One thing is that, before they do Kyle does say, let's do a boys' lunch. She goes, everybody, we're going. All four boys are going. We're going to release some steam and go to some bar together. But did you want to talk about, there's a couple conversations before that, before we get to boys' lunch.
Yeah. Paige and Amanda go and sit on the couch, and they're like, holy shit, like this whole Lindsay being pregnant thing is like giving me anxiety. Like, do I need to get my shit together? She's so many steps ahead. Like, Paige does a timeline of that. Carl and Lindsay started dating just after her and Craig. And in that time, they got engaged, planned a wedding, canceled a wedding. Like, she got pregnant, and then she's like, and I'm still just dating Craig. And she says later, I mean, we could touch on it later, but she basically Paige admits that she is like, I actually do feel bad for Craig because I have changed and my view of what I wanted has changed, and I'm way busier now, and he's had to accept a different version, whereas it seems like he still wants the same things as when they started.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, at least she said it, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, when 3 years ago she was completely different, and now it's like Giggly Squad and like everything else, all the other endeavors. Like, it's just that is interesting how much she's evolved in, you know, since that relationship. I didn't even think about that because Paige, I don't know, I always think of Paige the same way, but she's like much more powerful now, I guess.
Yeah, and Amanda says something similar in this, and it is kind of refreshing, I guess, to like see women be like, I thought I wanted a kid by 25 or 30, and then every year further I get, I'm like, actually, I don't. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, for either of them, they totally have time. Like, I like that they are sure in that they don't want that right now and are like willing to make big life decisions around that. Like, I think that's kind of cool to like talk about.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought that was great. The boys hop into a car. I think it's a Jeep. It's immediately like the Rat Pack energy in there. Carl goes, I got a good sense that the boys are having fun in here. They're blasting music. And then Wes goes, hey, don't feel so awkward about your not shitty, but your awkward entrance with Lindsay. I had a horribly awkward entrance with Sierra as well. She stiff-armed me and didn't let me hug her.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, and by the way, Jesse and Lexi are like fully dating after 24 hours. And Jesse's like, I can't remember the last time I felt this excited. And he's like, I think they ask if they text or anything. And he's like, I don't even have her number yet. And they're all just like laughing their asses off. Like, everything about this is gagging all of the guys. Like, they just think this is very funny, which is, I think, fun to watch.
Yeah, so the whole bar or lunch or whatever the hell it was is just talking about how fast Jesse is falling in love with Lexi, and West is completely stunned. Kyle's laughing his ass off, and then Carl's just kind of getting the scoop on everything that's going on.
I'm glad they got him out of the house like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then Jesse FaceTimes her on the way back. and is like, we'll be home in 10. And she's like, okay.
Yeah. And then she says, get here soon. So he got her number then.
I think she like DM'd him or something in that time. Or
Okay.
he asked for it.
She says, I'm going to give you a big koala hug when you get
yeah.
back. And everybody loves that because they're wondering what kind of hug that is.
Right. And she's saying by the pool, meanwhile, that she doesn't normally like to be touched that much unless she thinks the guy is cute. So she's like, okay, like, hug me tighter, hug me more. Like, actually, I'm down. So she's telling everyone that she is into it, basically.
Wow, I didn't hear her say that. Oh, and then Bailey says this was interesting to me just because I don't know what Bailey's arc is going to be on this show. I think, did you hear in the last week that Bailey was like, she like left the show and ghosted the producers? She was talking shit or something, and like she's not going to be there halfway through the season. Did you hear any of that?
Yeah,
stuff
I saw that. I can't remember if we already talked about that, but yeah, apparently she pissed off the producers with some bad behavior, and they basically cut her out.
I think it's quite possible it's this, because she's talking about having a relationship with someone, and I think she might be downplaying what the relationship actually is, because she talks about how this guy is pissed, texting her, how he's not going to go to the party, and that he's like, when she's not answering her phone, he's thinking like, what the hell are you doing at the summer house? Probably because she might have said that she was a single person going into this house and would be open to dating any of them, but she's actually in a relationship. At least that's one theory I thought.
Yeah. I saw something. It was like she was like leaking shit or just like talking sort of publicly about what had been going on. And so, yeah, it sounded like a bad situation, but she still posted like a gallery or like whatever you call that, like photo roundup on Instagram of like stuff from Summer House, and then Queens of Bravo posted it and we're like, we love Bailey, she's adorable. And I was like, what are you basing that on? Like, she has barely spoken on the first 2 episodes. Like, why are you making her like your icon?
Well, I mean, that account absolutely loves the new season of Roni, so who knows what the hell they're thinking. Yeah, and Amanda also posted she posted on Instagram, and she posted Bailey flipping hibachi shrimp or something and throwing the shrimp into people's mouths. I was like, damn, you're honoring Bailey. It couldn't have been bad blood with the cast. Maybe it was just some weird production shit, or I don't know. Well, we'll see.
I wonder if we'll ever find out, because I feel like when stuff is like production related, they like will never talk about it.
Yeah.
Much, but
I thought about you during this scene with Gabby and Lindsay up in the room. Room. Gabby is, I don't know, having some takes that shocked me. I couldn't believe it. She says she goes, I cannot believe that Carl came back into this house with his big ass teeth and his non-alcoholic lover boy. What the fuck was he thinking coming back here? He doesn't contribute anything to the party.
Yeah, she's like, he's not even gonna pick up girls or like do anything fun or whatever. And I was like, okay, first of all, I don't know if they cut around it, but it looked like Lindsay didn't really say anything back, because I don't know if she didn't want to look bad or what, but I was like, yeah, that's just like fucking mean. Like, if anyone said something about like the way Lindsay looks like that, like they'd be like slain to the high heavens, like with his big ass teeth and his like non-alcoholic drinks because he's sober.
Everything about it is mean, that he can't contribute to fun because he's sober and making fun of his non-alcoholic. I think that you wanted to vent and show loyalty and fealty to Lindsay by talking shit about her ex, but it came off so mean. And also this absolutely, and like, of course Carl would come back in every way. He would come back. I mean, he's newly single, so even in the reality of the show, he would come back to spend a summer with all of his friends. But as a cast member, of course he's going to come back in addition to Lindsay. So I just was kind of stunned by that. And then also, some people that aren't the biggest fans of Gabby could say, well, Gabby, you contribute absolutely nothing to this show. So I wouldn't talk about anybody not contributing to the fun of the overall atmosphere.
Yeah, she at least does say in her confessional that she's like, Carl coming back to the house is not a choice I would have made, but I'm also questioning Lindsay for coming back because they both need to be checked out for coming back to this house where their ex is, which I'm like, I've seen some comments and stuff where people are like, if you're going to question Lindsay for coming back, which I think I do more than you do, then I must also question Carl for coming back. Because it's true that like the party house probably isn't best for his new sobriety. That wouldn't be like a recommended place to hang out for like months at a time. But so yeah, I think they're both kind of nuts, but it's also their job, so I get it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to say who I think more like deserves to be in the house, but I guess I can't get behind the fourth wall of it, which is just that they are two OGs on this show, and of course they were going to come back, but I just thought it was very offensive for Gabby to make fun of Carl in that way for coming back. And then I think she tried to couch it with the Lindsay, whatever. I just overall it was just a horrible take. It was just a bad take, and another reason why Gabby is just not my favorite person to watch on Summer House.
And I won't spoil it, but an action she takes later, I was like, "You're fucking dead to me, dude! Like you're such a waste of space. I swear to God."
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Then Jesse goes into Lexi's room as promised. He wants to pick her up, and she goes, "I just got lotioned up and down. I have slime all over." And he goes, "Slime me up, baby."
And she slips and slides down him and she gives him the koala bear hug. And I was thinking about it now. I'm thinking about producers, and they were just like, they were rubbing their hands together. They were like, oh my God, we did it. Like Lexi and Jesse are falling in love or whatever this is, new sexual chemistry. This is exactly what they wanted. Coming back and embracing and hugging like that. This is what they wanted for Summer House.
Yeah. I will say it feels like inorganic in a certain sense that I can't quite put my finger on, where like with like Sierra and West, it felt so like sparky, where you're like, this is cute. Like, I like this. Like they really seem to like each other in a real way. I guess with this, it's because there's been no time for it to ruminate that it's like just horniness, I guess.
Yeah, it's the two sides of the love coin. I mean, I've seen both of this in real life. Sexual, purely sexual, chaotic energy that starts right at the top, and then I've seen the West and Sierra where it was more romantic and sweet and it builds. Like I remember being blown away when Sierra went to help West in the kitchen on his first night when he was cleaning up for everyone, and Paige was like, she never does that. She just wanted to spend time with him. So I'm fine with both. I think they're both very realistic to me. It's just that the one flames out a little harder.
Yeah.
You have all that chaotic sexual energy, and then you don't know each other, and then so we might be 6 episodes in and they don't like each other anymore because they don't know each other.
Right. So weirdly in this moment, so like he picks her up, puts her down, he gets in her bed, and then she sits next to him in the bed, and he asks her about a necklace she has that has I think it was a J.
I think so,
on
yes.
it. And she opens up about her best friend passed away the year before. And so she's like pretty vulnerable. Like it's a pretty serious, deep conversation about like loss and like, how she got through that and everything. And he's like listening, and it's like, it's like a nice conversation. And then it leads to him opening up about having cancer, which I don't know if she probably already knew that. I assume she watched the show or whatever, but he talks her through that. So it's like they had a sort of crash course in like a deep conversation that I guess technically got them through almost like first date material.
Yeah. They got to third date or fourth date there with that one. It was sweet. They were both listening to each other, extremely empathetic to each other. A great moment between them. And then I think they say, let's make out together. And then they have a full-blown make-out
roll
in the bed.
In the hay.
Total roll in the hay vibes over there. Now this was a fun scene. This was good to me. I like this. Where they're in the kitchen. Carl is head down making steaks.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a roll here.
The stakes are high.
The stakes are high. I'm cutting this huge chunk of an animal, and I'm going to carve it into pieces, and I'm garlicking it, and I'm salting it, and Kyle had to be there too. I don't remember what Kyle was doing at first. Amanda leaves. Kyle's in there, and then Lindsay comes in, and Lindsay looks at a bunch of little pieces of paper on the table, and she goes, we don't need these pieces of paper anymore. Is this the scene I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
She goes, and then it's Kyle, Carl, and her, and then she's just, I really looked to see what she was doing. She's holding like a to-go container. She's putting stuff in it, and then finally Carl can't not acknowledge when there's only 3 people in the kitchen. So he comes over, he wipes his brow first, and he goes, what does he say? He goes, how are you, Lindsay? Oh, yeah. Hey, Lindsay. And then she goes, hi, Carl. And it's the tone, flat tone for Lindsay, but on a scale of Lindsay's voice, which I know, I would say she was giving him like a 7 out of 10. It wasn't like "You're dead to me," which would be the 1 out of 10, and 10 out of 10 is chipper Lindsay. It was like a 6 or a 7, more on the like being sweet to him. I thought at first.
Yeah, and she's like, "I'm good," and he's like, "I just wanted to congratulate you. Sorry I didn't get a chance earlier." And she pretty much throughout this entire time won't make eye contact with him. She continues to clean up the kitchen and continues like doing what she's doing and never looks up from what she's doing while she's talking to him.
It's perfect, though. It's just the right amount of keeping the Lindsay ethos of what she wants to project, which is that she hates this man or he spurned her. Mm-hmm. But also, I do feel like she wanted to have this conversation with Carl, obviously. Even if it's for the good of the show, whatever. Yeah. Lindsay stayed in that kitchen to let Carl approach her and talk to her. And then she adds in exactly, a little bit of the more calculated moments, which she immediately says something about how when he congratulates her, she goes, "I did say last year in the ball courts that I might be pregnant next summer." And then they go to a flashback of a conversation that we would never remember of her telling Carl that exact thing,
Yeah, which I think she said on... She brought that up some other time. So, like, that's, like, in her stockpile of, like, fun zingers.
Yeah.
And also throughout this entire thing, they keep cutting to Kyle, who's eavesdropping from the, like, DJ room right next door. And they just keep cutting to him. And he's like, "Oh, my God." And then she starts to leave. And she's like, "Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it." So it's, like, nice. It's good. It's like, all right, fucking that's over. Thank God. And then on her way out to the trash, she goes, "Kyle, you always got to be eavesdropping when you're pretending to do speaker stuff in there." And he's like, "Oh my God."
He goes, he's in the corner and he's doing the speakers. I was wondering, do you think Bravo celebrities have the full roster of every iconic thing they've ever said in their like 6 or 7 years? You know what I mean?
She does.
Because Lindsay for sure does. I'm sure people who watch the episodes over and over again know all their highlights, but it must be interesting to just like keep like actually on Beverly Hills, it's a good example. Erica has to remind us of her one hot dog a year thing, and so like they must have their Bravo highlight reel always in their heads.
I also noticed I watched the Beverly Hills after show, and they were talking about Dorit taking too long upstairs, and they were like, "What was she doing up there?" And they all did the glass pose from that iconic Instagram where she took too long to get ready.
I remember that.
And I was like, I forgot about that. But you guys, it's like right up your sleeve, huh?
Oh, yeah. Scheana peeled back or opened the curtain on that for me. She goes, "Producers absolutely love to include flashback footage if the edit isn't long enough or something. So she will purposefully tee up moments. And so we know that who's the best at it. I mean, Lindsay Hubbard on this show for sure." Yeah. So I just want to say that was a great conversation. I really thought that Lindsay would have been more on the Sierra to West side of things, been like, what the fuck are you thinking talking to me right now? Yeah. But she gave him nothing, like you said. Like, she didn't look at him, but she had a conversation with him, a pretty decent conversation.
Yeah, there's more to come. In the previews, we know that she screams at him sometime soon, but yeah, it went well. And then we get, just really quickly before we move on to dinner, Sierra gives us context for why she's pissed at West. Apparently, she had a lot of family issues over the holidays, so to the point that she didn't even go home for Christmas. She went on vacation, I guess alone or with friends instead. And she had talked with West about this. Like, he was her touchstone through it, which it sounded like it was a hard time. She got like teary talking about it.
Yeah.
And then after that is when that New York Times article came out. So she was like, what the fuck? Like, yet again, she thought that he was like her person to a certain degree, or like a close confidant, and then she was sort of blindsided by this article.
Yeah. I thought the article, though, was going to be a little more pointed when she started talking about that. I thought that the thing that was going to come up was going to be like, and then she went to Costa Rica. And I thought that, like, because she was making a lot of specific examples, but then it just goes to the New York Times and it said, we were not each other's person. But overall, I do get the sentiment where it's like, you were that close to me that I shared those things with you. And then I'm learning from the New York Times that that's how you felt about me. So I understand it in theory of why that hurt.
I'm just a little confused about, like, they had broken up a long time before, like before the reunion. Mm-hmm. And they didn't get back together after the reunion. So I'm a little bit like when she goes, if you don't feel the same way about a bitch, let her know. And I'm like, but you had broken up.
Yeah, I think what Scheana is saying is that the press run brought up reignited a bunch of feelings, and she was learning new things from, like, obviously the Turtle Time interview. You know, one of the most
bombshells.
like one of the most like sort of searing, like incisive, interviews you could ever give.
She's like, I found out you hadn't watched Challengers and that you were gonna watch it soon.
She got a real peek into what's
you
psyche
like Guinness.
You're gonna go to McSorley's in New York? No, she got it. So, learning that stuff, I think but then I get both sides. Wes is like, hey, we hashed this out in person. After the reunion, you told me, hey, you suck at reunions. You didn't say one thing. I thought it was over there. The New York Times comes in, and also Scheana has, there's a reason why in reality things would flare up just when you see someone again, but also for good television, it's good to remind all of us what your feelings are in the moment, because we don't get to see the 4 months where you cooled off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a moment where I don't even remember why this comes up, but Lindsay just has to remind us that she knows that Carl is still and will continue to be terrified of her. He'll be walking on eggshells all summer. And she says, me, on the other hand, I don't care if he's there or not. And I've physically, emotionally, and in every way moved on. So I was like, okay. Anyway.
Yeah, if she's worse to Carl in the confessionals than she actually is in this episode, for sure.
Yeah. And then I guess we could just go straight to dinner. There's a conversation between Lindsay and Wes where she's just like, you should talk to Scheana. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. No one comes to dinner on time. I mean, it seemed like Carl did almost all of the work for
He's
this.
exhausted when he sits down.
He goes, whoo! He got all of those steaks, a bunch of other meat, a bunch of the sides.
Lobster, I think.
Yeah, so Kyle has to use his DJ equipment, and he has to say I forget what he says exactly, but something like, will everyone please report to Carl's dinner right now, as soon as you can.
Served. But yeah, the dinner opens with Lindsay saying, cheers, thanks, Carl, for dinner. And everyone was like, damn, okay. Which is like a nice olive branch for the whole table to know that, like, we can chill. You know?
It was really nice. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm overstating it because I was expecting something completely different. But Lindsay just toasting to Carl for making the dinner was very sweet of her.
Yeah. Paige says later, she's like, you would have to drug me for me to say something nice about my ex-fiance.
Paige comments on it later saying, oh my God, when Lindsay toasted to Carl, like they're shocked by her behavior. I love this moment. This is kind of silly, but Kyle is doing the little assault or whatever. And we get finally reminded of Salt Bay. Do you remember that guy? I think he was from
never forget
2018.
Was it that long ago?
Maybe it was during COVID. But if everybody, you got to remember, you got to go on YouTube. But it was this guy. Someone got a steak, and then he went like this, and there was a photo of him, and he teased a little 3 or 4 specks of salt on a thing, and he was Salt Bay for about 2 years.
He looks like Peter Madrigal.
Totally. And then Kyle kind of like tries to recreate it. And I just thought it was, I had truly forgot, I had forgot about Salt Bay. And it's even past the point where, that was 3 years ago, right?
What? COVID?
Salt Bay? Salt Bay?
I can't confirm the origin of Salt Bay, but it's been a while.
Yeah. So it was just fun to have that, kind of back in the world again for me.
Yeah. Paige is like, well, also cheers to our maturity that we can all sit here together. She goes, she's like, I'm Paige. West and Sierra can't even make eye contact, but here we are. And Kyle turns to Sierra and is like, what do you think of West's hair these days? And she goes, fucking sucks.
Yeah, and then it shows West, and he's just got hair. I'll do it on YouTube. It just looks like this. It looks completely fine. Does Kyle not like West's hair? I thought that was pretty mean.
He was dogging. I think he was drunk, frankly.
Kyle was?
I think they were. Jesse said he was drunk after the the daytime drinking. So I bet Kyle was too.
I thought that was passive aggressive of Kyle to be like, hey, I don't like how West's hair looks right now. I'm going to get Sierra, who hates West, to say it looks like shit. She says it sucks. And that, you know, that is kind of mean, you know, when you're at dinner.
Got her all riled up. She started to be like, some people like to pretend to be nice and then do all kinds of press. Like, I wish you would keep the same energy from your articles as you would in real life and all this stuff. She's like, why don't you text a girl a warning? You should have spoken up at the reunion. It was a beta ass move. Like, she's just like ripping him a new asshole.
She's like, before you talk to Maggie Haberman in the New York Times.
Yeah. And then, he's like, I mean, he's completely overwhelmed, obviously. He's like, we can have a conversation if you want. And she's like, we are having a conversation. And Lindsay's like, I think he means in private. And Kyle's like, well, selfishly, I would love to watch this go down.
Yeah, Kyle's not helping here, but obviously he's speaking for the audience who would want this to happen at this dinner. But when you say he's overwhelmed, I mean, West is about as uncomfortable as it gets here. He's trying to, say stuff. He's getting very red. I'm not sure if he gets any. He says, like, I was trying to be respectful. That wasn't my intention. But Sierra is just, going at him in this moment and getting more and more fired up, like you said. Yeah.
Gabby is sinking in her seat to a degree that, like, her head is, like, on the cushion. Like, she's, like, so far down in her seat. Yeah. She ends it by being like, well, you're a fucking loser anyway. And,
could you imagine if you were at a dinner and someone said that to you?
I felt bad. It was, like, a little much.
Yeah, I felt like even Sierra felt like it was a little much at the end of it. I mean, we know what she says. I won't step on it later, but I felt like she was like, it was kind of one-sided, and I felt like she knew a scene that she wanted, and I know she feels all those feelings, but seeing Wes just sitting there, red-faced, he just got made fun of about his hair, and then just be called a fucking loser right to your face across the table. Like, even if you're the most mad at someone in the world, like, that is harsh for someone to hear. So I felt
he's not really allowed to say anything back. Like, he would be completely demonized if he said literally anything in his own defense.
He's left in like just a pile of like rubble, demolished at the end of it. They all like get up and go, well, that dinner was good. Yeah. Or whatever.
And then Lindsay's like, I need to take a shit.
They go, how are those steaks treating you, Lindsay? And she goes, I have to take a huge shit. So will you let me leave now? And then that kind of breaks the tension. And then West is sitting there. He's the last one left. And I think Amanda goes up to him and goes, you don't have to fold the placemats. And he's like, I'm doing origami.
Like, she's just like, do whatever you need, honey. And then everyone goes out, but they only go out for like an hour.
What the hell was going on with that?
I know. It was weird. I thought that at first it was just the girls coming back early, and I assumed everyone else would come back later. But I think maybe Jesse and Wes came back later.
Yeah. I don't know how happy production was to have gone all the way out there and set up cameras and stuff to have that be about 30 seconds or 20 seconds of footage of them all going out.
Right. And then back in their room, Sierra's talking to Paige, and she goes, I know this is just me being toxic, but a sick part of me is like, I just cursed you out and made a huge scene. Let's make out. And Paige is like, you could literally only say that to me, but I completely get it, bitch.
That was awesome. That was so cool.
Yeah,
that's reality. That's real shit. Yeah. That is like real shit that people go through. She wants to make out with Wes after calling him a fucking loser and saying his hair sucks. That was so cool of Sierra to admit that. That was awesome.
Yeah, and she says in her confessional that she's like, obviously, I want to just go up to him after and hug him and tell him that it's going to be fine. Like, she was like, obviously, I'm not, like, that's what I want to do. But I think later, when she has a conversation with him at the end, you can tell they're just being so guarded. Yeah. Like, the conversation at the end doesn't even end in a hug. And you're like, obviously, they want to hug it out. But, like, he's just like, okay, bye.
I can't wait for the day, which I know is coming, when it's next season, possibly of Summer House, and it's like Sierra and West are not back together, but they're high-fiving, they're having fun, because they both like each other. They were charmed by each other. They have similar personalities, similar senses of humor. I know that they're going to rebound. And this comment from Sierra made me know it to be true. I think it's a little bit of what I said. I think she wanted to bring the fire for fans to know that she is still dealing with this aftermath. But I feel like, and West is confused, being like, I feel like we went back in time after we bridged a gap here. So I think she feels bad about the fire that she's unleashing a little bit.
I will say, I feel like, how do I say this without getting in trouble?
Oh, just get in trouble.
I think there's like a precedent that's been set for this like girls rule, boys drool mentality. Like even after the West Sierra conversation, all the girls are in bed and Paige is like, there's nothing I love more than to see a man squirm. Mm-hmm. And they all laugh and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, I feel like that mentality is what like fucked up her breakup with Craig, because it's become this thing where like they have to portray girl power at all times, to the point where it's just like, it's not really like real. Like it's like performative girl power, when in reality, I'm like, you love these men and they break your hearts and you are in a complicated relationship. It's not like men are morons, like fuck men, like so stupid. It's like, you spent many years of your life with Craig. Like Sierra has shed so many tears over West. Like you can't just be like, he's a fucking loser, like I hate him, I don't give a shit. It's like, no, like you really care about these people. So it just seems so disingenuous to be like, I'm going to wear a t-shirt that says like girls doing whatever the fuck they want. It's like a little bit, you're like, okay, congrats. Like you made a meme. Like don't act like you're not upset. Like I know that you are. Like get a life. That's how I feel. Sorry.
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of the truth to that. And I appreciate you being honest on Turtle Time. I mean, that's what this is for. That's what this is for.
I was I said something to that effect like a week ago to someone about the boys drool, girls rule mentality. And then I opened Instagram after I said that to someone, and Lindsay captioned the photo of all the girls at the club from this week's episode. And it said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Boys drool, girls rule, or whatever.
No way.
And I was like, this is what I'm talking about.
Lindsay captioned that about that photo of them going out that night like that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
My fingers on the pulse.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, then they come back. You already said this. Jesse is debating whether or not he's going to go barge in on Lexi's room.
I was like, please don't.
I said that too. I started screaming. I said, don't.
You do not have consent.
Yes. And so he calls her. He leaves a voicemail, right?
Yes.
And then I think everybody just kind of goes to bed after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I kind of mentioned this before, but I think it's in the morning, Kyle and Amanda are talking about that it's kind of crazy that Lindsay's pregnant before them. And Amanda's like, not really, because even if her and Carl had stayed together, they probably would have been pregnant by now too. And Amanda, like I mentioned before, is saying that she's focusing on her mental health. She's trying to figure out what like medications work for her. And some of them you can't be pregnant on. So she's like, would rather figure out like getting her brain right before like prioritizing getting pregnant, which I respect.
Yeah, me too. We didn't congratulate Amanda on her wonderful bathing suit line that launched.
Yeah, congrats.
Congrats, Amanda. That's pretty. No, I think
I was underwhelmed by the designs, but that's okay.
Oh my God! Don't clip this moment, anybody. Maybe it's just the start.
Well, also, like, I absolutely cannot wear any of that shit. Like, it is not for. It's for girls that look like her, which is wonderful, and I wish I was one.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, congrats to Amanda. It's hard to make that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know, but I liked it, but I don't know anything about that kind
I'm
of.
gonna get you one of those little bikinis.
I didn't. Yeah. You know what? No
with,
matter
like, thong
what.
bottoms.
Here's what I'll say. It's no matter what. Well, yeah, it's still an accomplishment. You know what I mean? Like the first time.
It's her first step forward in that direction.
Like the candy that Willy Wonka made the first time. Probably tasted like shit. They probably talk about that in that Wonka prequel. It's like there's no sugar in it, or So I'm sure Amanda is just calibrating, but I just congratulate anybody who starts a new business in the Bravo universe, especially.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway.
I also wanted to point out when she was talking about her depression, I saw a clip of her talking on a different podcast where she said, they asked her who the most famous person who's ever DM'd her is. And she said Rihanna. And she was so overwhelmed and depressed that she didn't respond for a year. And I'm like, girl, you need to take that freaking Zoloft or whatever the hell right now, because that's fucking crazy to leave Rihanna on red.
Rihanna, I think, said, "You're my fave," to be honest.
Yeah.
And then Amanda, a year later, she goes, "I love you, queen," or something, and sent her the umbrella emoji back a year after when she was. I mean, to be fully real, I have the exact same thing. If
the most famous person in the world DM'd you, you were like, I can't reply. I'm like, you are trapped by your brain.
That's absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I get too worried. It's like having a bomb in your hand that you don't know how to dismantle because you think you're going to say the worst thing in the world. So I understand that, but that is so cool. I love that Rihanna's just going around giving compliments to everyone in the Bravo universe. She's like
so active. That's what she's doing while she's not making music. She's just DMing every Bravo Liberty.
She's like, Bronwyn, great first season. I love you. Like, Bronwyn's already talked to Rihanna. That's so fun.
They should have her do a reunion the way they let Nicki Minaj do one.
Totally. Oh my God, that would be so cool. One thing is, after that conversation, Carl says, "Would it be the coolest move in the world if he doesn't say that, but he says, if I got everybody bagels," and someone gives him the thumbs up, and then he brings bagels to everyone, and Lindsay goes, for no reason, she doesn't have to, she goes, "Thank you, Carl, for bringing these bagels."
Yeah, steak and bagels. He's trying to earn his spot for sure.
And Lindsay still had to thank him.
Yeah. And then Kyle gets another win because the 4th of July party, I think, is going to be that day. And Lindsay goes, "I'm actually not staying for the party. I'm driving home. I'm going to celebrate our announcement with my boyfriend. It's a big weekend for us, so I'm driving back to the city." And Gabby goes, "Actually, I'm going to leave too because my sister's in town." And I was like, you literally, if she's not here, you will leave because you have no other purpose to serve. And for that reason, you should be fired.
Yeah, I mean, it's harsh, strong words coming from the Turtle Time Corporation, but it's true. I mean, she does not exist outside of Lindsay on this show, and she's not friends with anyone to the point where she could even stay without Lindsay in the house. So it's really like like we talked about last week. It's like she's Lindsay's just assistant / best friend, and her entire universe orbits around Lindsay and what she does.
I was agog. And Carl was like, hell yeah, thank God. He's like, I'm single, ready to mingle. I want to meet someone at this party. I guess it's going to be a battle of the sexes party. We'll see what that means. But
it's kind of on the nose for me a little bit, because exactly what you were just saying. There was this whole Team Carl, Team Lindsay divide. There is the boys drool, toxic men. It was a little bit like, I was like, oh, the producers got their finger on or thumb on the scale a little bit for that one. Like, what kind of theme is that?
Maybe they can work their way through something with that. Wasn't that sort of like, was there a show called that?
Yeah.
In the 70s?
Battle of the Sexes. Yeah, it was like, I think it was like...
Oh, no, it was that tennis thing. The Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. They made that movie with Emma Stone and
where they played
Steve
them.
Carell.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good Cinematrix pull, frankly.
Oh, my God, yeah. Steve Carell and Emma Stone have worked a lot together, more than you'd think.
That's true. Crazy Stupid Love.
Just those two, I think, right?
I'll think more.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's huge party, boys' side, and then the guests. Which, God, could you imagine being a guest at one of these parties? The guests
every passing year.
Oh, the guests are going to go, "I liked this section more," or "I like this section more," and then we'll find out who truly is the better sex after this thing. Paige goes up to her room and gives a little FaceTime to Craig. She doesn't turn her brightness up, so you can't see Craig's face at all for the first half of the conversation. And she kind of just lets Craig know. First she goes, "Yeah, Sierra told West that his hair looked like shit. And Craig goes, "Oh my God, that's so sad." And then Craig goes, "I want you, chicken, to come here to me. Look at me. I'm in a pool. I'm having the time of my life. Please come see me."
He's alone in my yard as always.
Yeah. And she goes, "Unfortunately, chicken, that's not going to work for me." She looks at her calendar and it is booked up. So she won't be going to Charleston, in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. I also like he said about Sierra and West. He goes, "They had so much promise."
I know. So yeah, that was sweet. He's like the audience about Sierra and West, how we were.
Yeah, and then this is where she says that she's changed a lot. She goes, "I'm not going to apologize, but I acknowledge that I've changed a lot during our relationship." So,
but there's every time I see these little blips, I'm like, you're doing good. You're doing okay. This is after, Summer House is the summer. This is after the Charleston farm where they were talking about bees and getting the hive and talking about how getting in that fight about children and him pressuring her. Now we're in the summer and they're as good as they ever were,
Yeah.
So I'm wondering when it's going to start to turn
they'll
very
only be
sour.
together 4 more months after this.
Yeah. West, finally, we didn't really talk about this, but there's been a lot of lead up where West sat there at the table and he kind of just let the barrage hit him. He didn't counter anything. He's not good with confrontation. He also wants to be very respectful. But then Kyle was there like a coach. He was like, "You got to say something. Silence doesn't work." He's basically a producer being like, "Hey, we don't have scenes where people say stuff and then people don't say stuff back. It doesn't work very well in the Bravo universe." And then he got that from Lindsay. And then now finally he goes, it was basically like someone said, "Get up there, West. He has to go talk to Sierra, finally."
Yeah, it was sort of like a worthless conversation. He started it by saying, "Is this summer going to be fucking awful?"
Yeah, that was a bad start. Because even in his mind, if he thinks it's over and he doesn't understand why she reignited it, I still think that he should have gone in like we're having the conversation for the first time, despite whatever is going on. Lead with the apology. And I think she says she wants to move forward. She's kind of keeping that make out, whatever that spirit was with Paige. She has that a little bit. I thought it was fruitful towards the end. Like she's admitting to him that she's not going to, she doesn't want to let this ruin their summer. And then Wes gives a little bit into his psyche. He talks about he thought that they had closure, so he's a little bewildered by her reaction to him, and he knows that he sounded like an idiot at the reunion, and he apologizes for the press. And he says that if I would have known that would have been the reaction, I thought it was more of a pretty gentle way of telling the world what had happened, and I was being very defensive. And then that apology, I thought helped Sierra a little bit move forward in my mind.
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't feel that cathartic by the end, except, he was like, "If you know me at all, you know that I wasn't trying to be malicious. I wasn't trying to hurt you." And she's like, "I mean, I'm not like cursing the day you were born or anything." And he just says, "I hope we can be around each other." And in her confessional, she says, "It's hard because they were friends first, and it's hard to lose someone that you would usually tell everything to." So it pretty much, it was a breakup. But also like a friendship breakup. And I assumed they were going to hug at the end and they didn't. He just like pieces out. So it felt a little cold to me overall.
Yeah. Well, not cursing the day he was born, cursed child.
That's true.
Because we talked about that earlier.
Good point. Isn't that what Charlotte says to Mr. Big in the first Sex and the City movie when she runs into him when she's pregnant? She goes, "I cursed the day you were born." And then her water breaks.
Yeah, in that at the New York Public Library.
No, it's when she's pregnant at the end and her water breaks, and then Big takes Charlotte to the hospital in his car, and then Carrie, they're like, Harry is like, "Big waited here hoping he'd run into you."
Well, that's strong words for Charlotte. She's more if I remember correctly, she doesn't like to get too mean.
Yeah, it upset her so much that her water broke.
Wow. This when I was in Florida, people had Sex in the City on, and I watched the iconic episodes where they all go to Los Angeles.
Fun.
Yeah. Carrie Fisher. Carrie has a meeting with Matthew McConaughey. They go to the Standard.
It's bullshit, Carrie, and you know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having the time of my life. Okay, so, okay, well, what you said about the cathartic hug, here's what I'll say to that. I think West, unfortunately, the last time he attempted a hug, he was
true.
rebuffed, so he didn't think Sierra was in the space. I bet there was probably a 70% chance that Sierra possibly could have hugged West in that moment, because I felt more that from Sierra to come down from that 9 out of 10, pissed off at him, to get down to wherever she's at now, simmering 3 out of 10, that was a huge leap for them. I just think that West didn't want to take the chance and get the whatever that was, the Heisman, as they call it. So I saw it more, but I was expecting a hug. I think the sitcom brain of me was thinking that they would hug at the end, but same. But I think they're going to get better. I really think I see a bright future for Sierra and Wes. I think that she's going to get to the place where she forgives him, and they like each other again.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Beverly Hills.
Land of the free, home of the shade.
Land of the free, home of the shade. People say home of the brave. Home of the shade. And there was a lot of shade in this episode, so I completely understand why they wanted to do a little tweak. A lot of parallels between this and the Summer House episode. Both are 4th of July.
That's true. I didn't really realize that, actually.
No, isn't it interesting? They're both on the exact same timeline. One was the 5th of July, one was the 4th of July.
Despite the events of this party, that like the Housewives events, this was a horrible party. Like, it looked so boring and quiet and lacking any energy.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the worst parties I've ever seen thrown in Bravo history. This was a really bad episode, and you and I, we want to rush through this because it was pure shit. You texted me, I thought about it. It was like everyone just regressed for 3 episodes. We got more garbage. Kyle shit. The Sutton stuff was just awkward and not fun to watch. There was the Bose and Kyle blip that happens that gets interrupted with the Kyle and Dorit, and just overall was really boring. Way too much time spent at that Dorit party that you already said had no energy. They could have done this scene anywhere. They're just sitting on couches looking at each other with red, white, and blue outfits. They did not need this scenery. But
yeah, I would say that the quality of this episode was on par with some Roni episodes.
Yeah, it was really bad. Not fun, not funny, boring, and rehashing shit that we've already addressed. Like, even when Dorit and Kyle started to fight again, I was like, oh God, no.
I know.
Please, we can't take any more of this. So I'll rip through the first part. We're not out of Augusta yet. You thought we were out of Augusta?
Why did we need to go back? Just be already gone. Like, it's fine.
I definitely was shocked when we were waking up and Reba goes, they're all in the kitchen and Avi was whatever the hell he was doing. But I did like this one moment where they do say, they have the scene where Reba and Sutton are talking about the breakthrough they had. And then I did like when Sutton goes, well, when is that I love you that I'm going to get? I guess, are we going to do that on Christmas? And Reba goes, I'm going to put it on a little sign and hold it up for you. And then Sutton goes, well, I don't care. I love you, Mom. And Reba goes, I love you, Sutton.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really sweet. I was like, because you know how much that means to Sutton, and she didn't say it in the moment last week. She didn't say specifically, I love you. So I thought that was, speaking of a happy ending, that was nice. Like, they had an I love you at the end of the Augusta trip, which was good.
Yes. We also got a little backstory on Bose's pregnancies of the past, which were like very dramatic. She opens up about she had a pregnancy before she had her daughter that we met on a recent episode, where she, like 5 months in, got preeclampsia, and by the time she ended up going into the hospital to give birth, her baby, who was named Eve, did not survive. I was like not expecting that. It was so sad. Yeah. And then she said that with her pregnancy with her daughter, she was stressed every single day because last time was so horrific. So now I'm like, oh my God, I was already stressed out about the idea of like her geriatric pregnancy as it was. And now there's the lore of this where I'm like, if she moves forward with this, I'm going to be stressed.
I know. Yeah, it was so horrible to hear that. I felt so bad for her. And then, I felt the exact same way. So
Yeah,
So sorry that Bose had to go through all of that.
That was kind of the only, like, deep information on this episode before we get to this shitty ass party.
Yeah, that was it. It was just 2 scenes and then gearing up for Dorit's 4th of July party. She says, I normally let a bunch of kids come to my house for 4th of July, so why not lump in my friends to do the same thing? And then Sutton gets there, and unfortunately Sutton has to wait, I think, about, 20 to 25
20 minutes-ish.
So what do you think was really going on there? Because, like, I mean, Dorit knows when people were going to come, right?
Well, I think were some people already there, because she's like rushing around and she's like, I want to go find my belly chain. And she's like, be right back. Because like her mom was downstairs. There were like some other friends that were already there, but they were like entertaining themselves outside. And so Sutton was unfortunately the first housewife to get there. And I wonder if they were supposed to get there at 1 or 1:30, because Sutton got there at 1:22.
Yeah. I don't have much sympathy for not knowing what to do when you arrive, just because I'm not in that situation. Like, just sit on the couch and turn on the TV.
Well, yeah, she was like mumbling to herself. She was like, hello, like, and then when Kyle does come and she starts talking to Dorit, she goes, well, so glad that I showed up. Can I go home now? Like, hello,
Yeah,
what am I even doing here? I was like, you're a freak, dude.
She was so pissed. Just go outside and go talk to the mom or those kids or jump in the pool.
She was like, I don't know those people.
What if she turned on the TV and they had to blur it out and you could tell that she had put on like Game of Thrones or something, like you heard the HBO symbol. I mean, it's kind of like it breaks the fourth wall, because I'm just like, people don't do this. Bronwyn did it too at the Breakfast at Tiffany's thing. It's like people just sit or you go talk to people. It's not that big of a deal, but she really had to wait. And I was wondering what the hell is going on with these call times.
Right.
She got that one.
It was so staggered.
She got 1:22. Erica got like 2:30, and then everything in between. It was really odd.
Yeah, Kyle came at 1:45.
Right.
But yeah, Sutton's like absolutely pissed off in her confessional. She's like, the fact to imagine that you wouldn't be there to greet your guest, or you wouldn't have, she said in her case, Avi greeting her guests, boggles her mind. And then when Kyle comes, she notices that there's a round table in the entrance that just has like 5+ pictures of Dorit and PK, like wedding photos. Like, she's like, why does it look like I'm like arriving at a wedding? Like, where's the guest book? Like, this is fucking weird.
Did you see some of them? It was
I
like,
mean, yeah, it did look like that.
It was like PK was like on Dorit's shoulders.
Yeah. In the after show, Dorit says that she enters through the garage, so she never like walks in and sees that. Although I'm like, the stairs are right there, but okay.
Just admit you have a bunch of 20 photos of PK in your entrance.
And then she also has that giant one in the bedroom that she says she can see from the bed. Like a huge, like, it's like 40 inches wide photo of, it's like Scheana's wedding photos, like huge.
I don't really understand. You don't take down the photos yet. You're just separated.
I mean, I understood for like Kyle because they were like more like family photos, but like the wedding shit, it was like a little intense, I thought. But
yeah, I mean, I guess the conspiracy theory to that is that they're just not really separated and she hasn't put down the photos.
True. Yeah, I feel like the more that we're depending on Dorit for the storyline, the less capable of being a center diamond I think she is.
I completely agree. She's flaming out on this show.
Yeah,
she's doing very badly. She's not meant for the full spotlight. She is a iconic friend of. She's for bring her to the house, bring Jamie Lee Curtis there to show you a wind chime, and you say so chic 20 times. That's what Dorit is good for. She's an eccentric support system for the rest of the cast. She is not doing well as the center diamond in any way.
Both times she tries to make a joke on this episode, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like when she takes Sutton's purse, where she's like, ooh, love that bag. Thank you so much for bringing it for me. It's so awkward. And Sutton's like, please give that back. Like, and she's like, no, you owe it to me. And she's like, no. And
then she goes, yes, you do. It was a very awkward, uncomfortable conversation of Dorit basically saying like, I'm going to take your blue bag.
Yeah, that's worth like $20,000 or something.
Sutton doesn't like that type of humor.
No, and it just wasn't funny anyways because they don't have the chemistry. If she did it to Kyle, it could have worked because Kyle would be able to like rib it back. But it was like, you don't have that relationship. And then when they go outside, Garcelle says to Sutton, what are you drinking? And she's like, it's like a watermelon cooler thing. And she goes, but there's alcohol in it. And she's like, yeah, not that much. And fucking Dorit in the most like clumsy way possible goes, you asked Sutton if there's alcohol in her drink. She's like, yeah. And she's like, as if Sutton would have a drink that didn't have alcohol.
Yeah, it was even worse than that. When you say that, that's kind of funny. That has comedic timing. I think she said...
I can't even say it as
I think she said,
she
goes, you just asked about Sutton's drink, and then in addition to that, you asked if there was alcohol in it, and then Garcelle gets the joke. But I think the joke she meant was, you're asking Sutton if she has alcohol in her drink?
Like, Avi.
Yeah, but I'm glad that Garcelle threw her a bone and got through that wild web of not funny humor. But you're right; those are two examples of Dorit just not landing the joke plane there at all.
It was horrible. And then Sutton is like, "Oh my God, shut up! You are such a bitch." Yeah. And then Dorit is like ignited because she's like, "Ooh, I can make a meal of this." Mm-hmm. Like it didn't even feel like she was like. Maybe she was. Actually offended, but it felt like she was like, I get to be like, how dare you say that in my house?
Yeah, totally. Of course. She wanted to run with Sutton calling her a bitch. I think that they're equivalent. I think that Sutton has every right to be like, you accuse me of being an alcoholic and pouring vodka in my morning coffee, and now you're accusing me of being drunk again or needing alcohol every time. I think it's excusable for Sutton to say that back, but you're right, Dorit now can use this, and she gets the "we're at my home," excuse for why she can run this into the ground, and then that immediately sets. Oh, go ahead.
That's a Housewives trope along the lines of like taking food out of my kid's mouth, or like don't talk about the husband or the children, of being like in my own home. I'm like, do you feel that way? Like if someone says something to you, you're like, you're in my home.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm one of the people that says, you're in my house. Don't talk to me like that in my house. No, absolutely not. And all of their homes, even, even if you did have that reaction, these are all scenes there's settings for scenes. So using that, like Dorit knows that like you can have any fight you want at her house at this party, and you should. So I don't really like that either, but Dorit wants this, and then Sutton immediately wants to leave.
Yes. Which Kyle calls out later, where she's like, God forbid I leave one time in my entire career from that massage party. Sutton was so outraged, whereas there's like, you could do a whole montage of times that Sutton has stormed off.
Yeah. Now we can like kind of breeze through this, but like if you're going to leave, you have to leave. I don't think I like leaving. I don't know how I feel about it. I only like leaving if it's completely earned. I don't like leaving because you're getting your ass handed to you in a scene. I don't like you saying you're like indignant and you leave the scene because you have too much pride. Kyle's was probably the one that I kind of agree with, because she was getting berated for 4 episodes in a row, and she was so tired of it, and she was crying. But either way, this was the worst example of it, because then Sutton's lingering by the door going, I'm going to leave, and then everybody takes the party from outside to wait by the door as the other cast members are coming. It was so odd. Yeah. Like, it just made no sense in the world. And then I can keep breezing because Bose comes in, and then Bose is kind of like, what are they doing? Like, because she's not used to fake bullshit that would never happen in real life. People by the entryway, like, waiting for another cast member to decide whether or not they're going to leave. So she comes rightly and says, hey, guys, this is really weird. You're at a party. Get away. You're all congregating by the door. And then that's when Garcelle goes, we've had enough of you being Dorit's spokesperson or whatever. She gets really pissed off at Bose. And I thought Bose was right. I was like, get away from this entryway. Let Sutton leave if she wants to leave, you know?
Sure. I liked also that there were multiple times when they were like, Dorit was joking about the alcohol comment, and they all had to be like, she's not funny, that's why you're mad. Like, she was trying to joke and it wasn't funny.
Right, but it sounds like she's not joking, because she wasn't. And then in her confessional, she makes tons of drinking jokes. She goes, there goes Sutton, probably with a drink in her hand, because she drinks. And then she says a bunch of other stuff.
And then she doubles down where she goes, I don't know why she would be so offended at my comment unless there's something big bubbling underneath the surface. So I'm like, now you're like claiming that she has like a deep, dark drinking problem, that like she's like, you've hit the nail on the head and that's why she's offended. I'm like, that's like not great.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, it seems, no, it's not great. Like, Sutton has every right to then think this is the worst thing in the world, but, I think it's okay for Dorit to bring up that she thinks Sutton has a drinking problem.
I guess.
I mean, I'm not morally okay with it, but I think it's okay for Dorit if she's pissed off at Sutton.
If her joke was funny and they had, like, the candor together, like, if she said it right, it could have been funny. Like, of course,
Right.
Sutton's drink has vodka in it or whatever. But the way she said it was so ham-fisted, and Sutton was already pissed and didn't want to be there, so that was the actual problem. But to give credence to Bose being Dorit's spokesperson on the after show, Bose was like, you, as someone who was married to an alcoholic, would never joke about something like that. Like, if you really thought she had a problem, you would know and you would talk to her about it. And I was like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, she said it completely flippantly. Like, it was like, she said it over and over again. She uses it whenever she feels like it. Like,
she's accusing her of doing it and making fun of her for being it. It's like the worst case scenario. Yeah, exactly. But I was thinking when you were saying, like, oh, has anybody ever accused someone of being a drunk and how horrible it is? But it was like, if Lisa Vanderpump said something in a confessional, like, they like to drink, we would absolutely love it. You know what I mean? It's just because Dorit is so bad at it.
Yeah, and it was like a huge point of contention, like, one season ago, of like that people kept saying that.
Yeah. It gets a little shitty. I don't know how much you want to, like, it's all shitty.
Yeah.
But they try to have a fight. Well, Erica comes in. She goes, I don't want to do anything that you guys are doing. I'm going to go into the house and I want to get
I just want a hot dog.
I want that one hot dog a year that I get. Where's the hot dog stand?
I kind of love Erica feels like the shackles have been released. Like, she doesn't give a shit about any of this because she's like, I just like walked through fucking hell and made it through the other side. Like, I don't care about any of this bullshit.
They should play Walking on Sunshine every time Erica's doing anything on this show. She's having the time of her life. She goes, can I have that hot dog? There's even a guy who did it all done up with all of the
Fixins.
all the stuff, relish, mustard, ketchup, and she goes, I'm taking this thing, honey.
He's like, yes, queen, I don't care. And she's like, sorry, not sorry. She runs away with his hot dog.
I also, this party, you said it's shitty. And I'm like, I don't know what I prefer. Do I want a robust party where everyone's looking at the cast and taking photos of them and whispering to another person that they're on Beverly Hills and watching them? Or do we want these sparse, shitty parties where the only people that are invited are the cast members? Because those suck too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really don't know what the right party atmosphere should be on these shows. Because I get pissed either way.
Right.
But this one felt wrong. That's what I'm
Dorit's
saying.
mom just kept coming around the corner being like, hello.
Yeah.
Also, Sutton, for some reason, she tries and sort of fails at like a diss where she goes about Dorit, sorry your businesses have failed and mine haven't. Sorry you don't have a clean divorce and I have. Your problems are not my problems. And I'm like, is like her business is failing a thing that like is on the table? And also, like, I thought your divorce wasn't clean and that's why you like warned her so staunchly about getting a lawyer, because you went through hell with yours.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't funny. Sutton wasn't being funny in this moment. She was just feeling pissed off. Is Beverly Beach no more?
I guess.
Oh, I like that stuff. I liked when you there was one moment where Kathy comes in or whatever, and Kathy goes, Rick saw my bathing suit. And he said, that, my dear, is way out of line. And Erica said, I love that he said that. It's like, what are you talking about?
Was she wearing one of like Amanda Batula's designs, like the skimpy bikini? I can't imagine her wearing something out of line.
I didn't understand one piece of it. Rick saw my bathing suit. He said, that's way out of line. And then Erica complimented Rick for saying that he was against the bathing suit she was going to wear.
Meanwhile,
what the hell?
She was wearing like full, like she was not showing an inch of skin.
It's true. It's true. Then let's get into the Bose versus Kyle, right? Is there anything else we have to say?
No.
That, like, it's so Kyle learned that Bo said she was cold, asked about to Kathy about Kyle being cold. That got on Kyle's radar, and Kyle goes basically something that you and I think we both agree with. Bo's, I thought we were doing okay. I don't really know you too well. We've had probably 6 interactions, and they've all went decently well. They show a montage of her taking a nice photo of Bo's, bringing her the flowers, Bo's coming over to sit next to Kyle. And we've talked about this a lot. I unfortunately think that Bose is using the vitriol that everyone has for Kyle and adding it to her plate as a part of her arc of the season. And I don't know 100% if it's just fully her genuine feelings towards Kyle. I don't think it is. I think that she took a cue from all the other cast members. And then Kyle's response to me makes sense. She's like, what? I didn't know. Why would you? And she's not even being that mean. She's not like, why would you ever? She could have ran to the hills with, why'd you ask my sister that at that beautiful limoncello party? Why are you trying to get between me and my sister?
Yeah.
Like, but she didn't. She just said, I don't understand why you felt that way. And then Kyle says I felt very empathetic way, maybe not empathetic, but she goes, I think you're being a little hard on me. And I do. I sense that. I think that's true. Yeah. And then it gets completely derailed because then they start to talk about the PK shit. And then Dorit goes, I need a piece of this.
I know. Yeah. Cause Kyle goes, you've never even met PK, which I was like, good point. Like, why is she so in the middle of this when it's a man she hasn't even met? And Dorit goes, why does she need to have met him? And then it was like all over.
Bo said at the Viper room, the wonderful Viper room, she goes, you need to block PK, which it's like, that is not something for her to tell Kyle to do on her phone, block someone that she was friends with for 10 years.
Yeah. I also wanted to throw in that I think multiple people brought up that Garcelle historically has been Sutton's spokesperson. So they were like, why is she calling out Bose for being Dorit's spokesperson when she has played that role for like multiple seasons?
Allies are a real problem on Bravo. If you're not true friends and you're just a united front, it really makes for shitty conflict sometimes to just have somebody. I don't necessarily agree. I think that Dorit is just the one who's been the nicest to Bose, and Bose is sympathetic to Dorit's plight, but other allies, like for sure Garcelle has done that for Sutton for years. And I'm thinking of other franchises too, where it's just like, I don't even know if you guys are friends, you just defend each other nonstop no matter what.
Yeah. So yeah, then there's back and forth between Dorit and Kyle. It gets like, Kyle's getting heated and Dorit goes, can you stop screaming? And Garcelle's like, she's not screaming. And then Dorit puts her fist in her mouth because she's like, I'm gonna freak out if you guys like gaslight me about this, I guess.
Could you imagine if she had removed her fist and let loose with whatever the hell Dorit was gonna say?
Which, like, it's just like annoying to watch. And anyways, in the end, they agree to start from scratch again. They hug, they go inside, and then they do have finally like sort of an honest conversation about like their divorces.
This is the scene that Ben Stiller liked.
Yes. Dorit's house is a mess, which Kyle is like, damn, like her life really must be fucked up because she's never this messy. She was like, I've also been super disorganized during this time. Like I relate to that. And she was like, yeah, I took part of Mauricio's closet because, he was gone and I could use the space, but then it felt weird. And they're like going back and forth about, like, what does separation mean? Like, are they going to get divorced? And Kyle really, I think she literally can't answer the question because she literally doesn't know.
Yeah, I think I'm really turning towards this was a test for Mauricio. And Kyle really wanted to see. Here's my theory. I think I've already said it before a couple weeks ago. I think that Mauricio has been stepping out for years. I think that it's getting more and more on Kyle's radar of possibly cheating or inappropriate messages. And I think that Kyle wanted to say, I want to separate because I feel completely distant from you. You're not into this relationship. But I still think that Kyle has such an affinity for Mauricio and wants it to be better and wants him to want to come back. But like we said, Mauricio is just getting a taste of that Campbell's soup. Put a big tomato in your soup and stir it around. New fridge, bachelor condo life. Yeah. And so he's not racing back to make things better with Kyle. And I think if he doesn't do those things, then Kyle is going to be completely fine with, divorcing him. But I feel like her heart is still for Mauricio at this moment,
Yeah, when she said something along the lines of like, if you asked me if he could like come back tomorrow and like move back in, she said like, that's not happening. Like that felt kind of like pointed, like not the way he acts or something like that. But she also was like, she's like, if you ask me if we're going to get back together right now, that's not going to happen. We can't keep living like we're living now. So the alternative is to get a divorce. So if it stays like this, we will have to get divorced. Yeah. But she wasn't willing to like put the two together and say like, this cannot stand, so we will get divorced. She was like, in the scenario in which we cannot come to the right agreement.
Yeah. Kyle's stuff was more interesting to learn about. Dorit's, I didn't really learn anything new. That PK was the one who wanted to be separated, but she said that I haven't been able to explore like even what it means to be single, which I guess was kind of interesting. But what mattered is that they were bonding over a moment that they're both sharing, and they've been friends for years, and they're both having this experience at the same time, which that's what Ben Stiller was trying to articulate. It's nice that they finally, but they did also, they kind of, as a retread of the moment they had on the beach where they said we can finally bond with each other at this time in our, of our lives. I want to say, did we fully articulate why this episode was so shitty?
Yes,
we did.
I think so.
I think it's because these are very tired. These are very tired dynamics. We need some new.
They weren't even juicy to start with.
No, yeah. So we need some fresh life in here, and this just happened to also be just a very boring party where every little stupid thing was like very highlighted.
Can I get Erica's fucking cabana reveal already? Like that would be 20 times more entertaining to me.
Oh my God! Imagine Martin Lawrence is he like the lights are out or something, and he goes, Erica, close your eyes. He starts blaring a song, and he goes, open them, and then we see that beautiful cabana room with music, and everybody starts dancing there because it's revealed in real time. Oh my God, that would be so awesome. Get to Erica's cabana renovation. This was rough, and I feel like we were just saying maybe Beverly Hills was getting good. The Augusta stuff was like decent, and then this was like fully 2 steps back. Rough. Yeah. But then at the end, I'll just segue into it. Kyle goes, what does she say to segue? Dorit goes, I don't know if PK is dating anyone. Kyle said, well, he's probably not, because that would be all over the world if he was. And then they do a 1 week later, and then we get the revelation that they're all experiencing, which is that Mauricio just touched down in Mykonos, and he was just doing a koala hug on some, I'll say it, young woman
in a bikini,
barely with any clothing, they say. So
yeah, and Erica's like, did you know this was coming? And Kyle said, not at all.
So then so
that gives credence to Kyle says during that conversation to Dorit, she's like, I wish that we could do whatever the hell they're doing and just like live it up in our separation era. And Dorit's like, I've barely been able to come up for air. Like I can't even like unpack these goddamn boxes in my house. And like they're just like holding the families together, I feel like. And then the men are like in Mykonos or like Aspen or whatever.
Yeah. Why does her place look like shit?
I think she's just stressed out. So she's like letting it all fall by the wayside.
Oh, okay. So that's all like
she
stuff.
Let her orchid die.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was a metaphor for what she's going through with her and PK's relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, and you were saying all the stuff that PK and Mauricio are doing. Cut to them dancing next to Kyle's DJ booth in the Hamptons, dancing their asses off. That's what they're doing.
Sandstorm.
Oh, how does Sandstorm start? Oh my God, could you imagine if we were at a party where Kyle started to play Sandstorm like that? I mean, there would be nothing better. Oh my gosh.
And we didn't mention that Mauricio ate shit skiing recently and like broke his goddamn collarbone. Skiing is so dangerous.
Oh, I don't even want to say all of the horror stories that I know about people who ski. I mean, I get why it's dangerous. I get one thing on my foot in the snow and I just fall instantly into whatever's near me.
A influencer who I was just talking to you about Wishbone Kitchen, Meredith, the wonderful millennial chef. She went on a ski trip a couple weeks ago, immediately tore her ACL on the trip. And then obviously we have Sonny Bono, Natasha Richardson.
I know.
Bethany was skiing this week. I was like, well, she was snowboarding. I was like, be careful, B.
I know that guy that Gwyneth Paltrow ran over. Was that that was in a snowmobile, right?
I thought that they were just skiing.
No, yeah, you're right. There's so many accidents, but I think that it's one of those things. If you're good, you can maybe dart around some of those trees. But if you're bad, you are so bad at skiing, and it's so dangerous. Yeah. Or I'm sure you're good, and some people flop out.
Yeah, or you fall into like whatever they call those, like hollow. There's like things that like you fall into like a snow hole and no one can ever find you.
Yeah, I fell in one of those one time. Did you? Have you ever been skiing?
I went once when I was like 12, and I was like, never the fuck again. I just go tubing. That's my speed.
I went on whatever the smallest one was, green or blue.
Bunny Hill.
No, it was blue or green, but the lowest. And they go, I was like sliding on my butt. Basically, they go, get off the mountain. They were so mad at me, so I had to go off to the Bunny Hill. But that's another story for another day.
Pizza, what is it? Pizza, ice
French
cream?
fry.
French fry. Oh, yeah.
Pizza, French fry. Yeah. Well, yeah, I haven't been skiing since.
Yeah, it's too dangerous. We can't be doing that.
Not right now.
Not anymore.
Okay. Come on. That's it.
That's that.
Summer House recapped. Beverly Hills recapped. And then this is a programming note. You all are going, I know the Potomac heads are frothing at the mouth going, where the hell is the Potomac recap? That is coming. We're lumping that in with part 2. So that'll be next week. We are going to do the most jam-packed Potomac shit. And I think Southern Charm next week. Yeah. That'll be the first episode. So that's a good duo. Potomac, Southern Charm. Whew, that'll be a good episode.
Yeah.
And then
our past 2 weeks have been delayed because of like travel / my illness, but we'll return now that we have gotten the Summer House screeners, so we'll be able to watch it at the same time as Beverly Hills and release it Thursdays again.
Yes. So thank you. We should say it. I mean, thank you, Bravo, so much. You'll never watch this. You didn't know who the hell we were, but that is so nice of you. We got our first access to screeners, and it's real. It's not just something that Amy and I are lying about. So we'll have piping hot commentary for Summer House in a timely manner next day, Thursday. It'll be. Yeah. So anyway, that's the programming shit. Amy, I'll just say one of the things that we like to say at the end of it. I'll do the harder one.
Okay.
Oh. If you liked this episode of Turtle Time and you said, whoa, oh my God, I liked some of those takes in there. There were some hot takes. There were some mild takes. There was some stuff that was interesting. Well, if you need even more, because you're like, oh, Turtle Time only comes out twice a week, why not go to this beautiful oasis on Patreon called the Turtle Time Patreon? And for $5 a month, you can become a Villa Rosa VIP. And with that access, becoming a Villa Rosa VIP, you get access to over 90 episodes that Amy and I have done recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. This is a completely dedicated space just for Amy and I to talk about Vanderpump Rules. We've done it from season 1, episode 1, and we are now ripping through season 6. And it is so fun because this is the shit that I don't remember. I remember everything from seasons 1 through 4 like the back of my hand, but now we're in It's Not About the Pasta, Jack's cheating on Brittany, some random cheating scandal that Katie and Schwartz had. There's just so much fun, great shit in season 6, so join us for that. If you want, it's $5 a month, and you get so much shit for that $5.
A great deal. I'm working on some new merch coming soon. Keep your eyes peeled, but check out our store for some of our classic shit. Riley, if you're on YouTube, is wearing our Kim Richards tee right now. It's a good one.
Yeah, I wanted to honor Kim.
I know. I hope she's doing well today.
Me too.
And then as always, rate and review if you can. It helps. We love reading those. And yeah, watch our videos and comment on them.
Yeah, please. We're starting to do more videos, I think.
If we get around to posting them.
We'll try. I wanted to say one last thing to end this episode. We didn't talk about how Brandy Glanville wanted to give a huge shout out to Mauricio getting in trouble. She goes, he's so hurt.
It was like R.I.P. this tragedy, Mauricio. Click here.
Yeah, Brandy's still selling those celeb buzz things where they make it seem like every Bravo celebrity has died. And so you have to click on...
Is there someone's depraved job to create those and then she just posts them as is?
Yeah, I think they send photo where it's Mauricio in black and white with his eyes closed, and then
There's
it says
X's over his eyes and like a tongue hanging
and then
out.
it says, "You'll never believe what happened to Mauricio. He's so hurt." That's the caption, and then a little celeb buzz link. So
No,
I think
it was way worse than that.
No,
it was like it was like tragedy befalls Umansky.
I don't know where the hell to find it in our mess of shit, but yeah, it was worse than that. It was yeah. I think it was pray for Mauricio.
Yeah, it says #breaking news, devastating update on Mauricio amid hospitalization, broken heart.
Devastating. And he actually had tubes in his nose, but with all of that extra commentary, you think that he's, we don't know, but it looks like he's really on death's door there. So
she's done some really horrendous ones, like where you literally would think that like Kim Richards died or like some horrible
or Kim Zolciak and Croy. Anyway, that's Brandy's issue or plight. But anyway, okay, we were gonna let you go. An hour and 54 minutes. That's a great episode of Turtle Time. We hope you all enjoyed it. And Amy, I'm gonna say goodbye to you right now.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.